Hello, this is Stan, TKO Clamps. Today we're going to be demonstrating a frequently asked question is how do I install my quick release fire extinguisher on my buggy? So today I'm going to show you exactly how we do it here in our shop if someone has us install it for them. As you can see right here, there is a lot of component pieces that go with our quick release system. You've got the bottle itself, you have what we call a cradle with a capture, which actually captures the fire extinguisher. And then we have a quick release system with 2 clamps hooked to it. And these 2 clamps are sized to your roll bar, of which you tell us what size roll bar and we assemble it for that. So what I'm going to do today is basically show you how to put it on our little buggy that we have here. It's going on a 1 3/4 roll bar. So what I've done is I haven't done any real pre-setup here other than I've adjusted the clamps so that they wrap around the roll bar easily. But the clamp is going to come to you with rubber on it. You've noticed that I've cut the rubber in the very center. What that does is it releases the clamp to open, fully open like that. And we're going to send it to you in a single piece. We recommend that you cut it. It makes it so much simpler. There's a little bit of adhesive on here that'll cause this to stick in place. So basically this is how it works. You're going to have to line these latches, we call it the latch and the catcher. You're going to have to line them up perfectly straight so that when you release it, it releases straight. So this is how we do it here at our factory. We're going to take it and we're going to put it right here on the bar. And we basically We're gonna line it right up here so that it's nice and comfortable, and try to initially get your lugs in a straight line. It's not important at this point that they're perfectly aligned, but it does matter that they're as straight as you can get them, because that means that once you've set this up, you never have to set it up again. It's just release, install, release, install. But this initial setup takes a few minutes if you're doing it on your own. So you put this over your bar, which is a 1 3/4, and then you latch here. You send your latches into place. Snap it on. Loosen it so that you can snap it on. It needs to be snapped. Try to keep your lugs straight. And then you're going to be able to stand back and look at it and go, that's a beautiful straight line. If you look up the frame, you're going to see those lugs are lined up. But to make it even easier for you, what I usually do is I take a straight edge. Any straight edge will work. And then I line it up on the back side of just one of the lugs, and then I put it here. And I can see that that one's off a little bit. It's not off horribly, but let's say for the sake of this, we're going to get it perfect anyway. See how good that lines up? That is all that's required of you to have perfect lineup on your fire extinguisher when you put it into place. The next thing I like to do is I'll take it, now that I know it's lined up, I'm going to tighten up these screws on the side here because I don't want this to move during the install. And it's not going to be fully tightened. I'm just going to give it a couple of 3 or 4 turns. I'm going to push on the latch and make sure that it's seating itself properly. And you can hear it kind of moving around a little bit. Then you come in here, you get them nice and snug. And then you can grab your lugs, and your lugs won't move. Your buggy will move, but your lugs aren't going to move. And then you know that you're perfectly lined up. Then don't be afraid to look at them and size them up and make sure that everything is nice and vertical and straight. And if it isn't, then you can see that, well, that's not as straight. Don't be afraid to tap it a little bit. Come in here and tap these a little bit. And then you're going to get them beautifully symmetrical. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the cradles that cradle the fire extinguisher, and there's 2 of them. We've put rubber inside of them. What the rubber does is just adds a little insulation so that it doesn't scratch this really nice fire extinguisher that we have. You're going to come up here and you're going to screw these on the nose. Can you hand me that, please? This is a 5/32 Allen. That's all it is, or hex head. Just go ahead and put it on there. Screw it down onto the nose. Takes 2 of them. They're going to pretty much self-center, but that doesn't mean they're going to be perfectly centered because we put a little adjustment in these as well. Just in case you're not perfectly lined up the noses, these will move a little bit. So we're gonna leave them a little bit loose until we take the fire extinguisher bottle. And because this is designed to pull open instead of push open, because our fire extinguisher releases in both directions, I have it designed for a pull. I like to lay this in here, and immediately what it's going to do is line up these cradles. And you can see how it just lined them up. Then I pop it out, and then I come in and I finish these off. and they're perfectly level at that point. And then we take the fire extinguisher, and because we like our logo looking at us, we always put the logo out, and it also allows you to see the pressure in your bottle, that your pressure is always up. And then we come in and we put our other two captures on. And what I want you to notice is we have little rubber grommets on these capture. These will cause you more anxiety than anything you're doing here, because these little guys like to fall off a bunch. But all they are is spacers. They have no function other than they clean up the install. It's simply a spacer. We're going to literally put them on top like this, line your holes up, take your 5/32 Allen, just get them started. That's all you need to do, because you don't want to lose those little rubber washers. Then you're going to put your other one on. Thank you. They're countersunk, so they hide out of the way. These are also stainless, so they're not going to rust. It's going to look nice and pristine. It's just going to be dirty after your first trip. We don't care. That's what we do. We get dirty. Or we get sandy, or we get rocky. And then we're going to put this capture on top of this cradle. Snug it down. Well, not really snug it down, but get it started. And then once you have it started, what I like to do is I like to adjust it so that it looks balanced on there. And so I like to slide it up so that it's right about there. There's a rim on the bottom of the can. I like the rim in this catcher right here to be pretty close to each other. Then it kind of makes a really nice clean install. And then it's just a matter of you tighten it down to your satisfaction. And I would say it doesn't have to be horribly tight. You just want it snug, because it is not moving once we get it in place. We machined these to be almost a perfect fit. So just the machining made it really, really tight. Oh, rubber washer. Remember I told you that if you're ever going to be frustrated, you're going to be frustrated with those little washers. My assistant and GoPro camera holder is finding my rubber washer. I would recommend you have an assistant to go look for your rubber washers too. Okay, right now this fire extinguisher is going nowhere. And this is the only install as far as assembly that you have to do so that this thing is consistently lined up. It will never unalign itself, because this bottle now lined the whole feature up. Nothing can roll around, and nothing can adjust up and down. It is now a fixed unit. So if you decide to pull this off just to test it, and I would recommend you do that for two reasons. First off, you got to know how to tighten it. And if you went, oh, that came off really easy, you'll know too, I need to tighten up these screws a little bit more until you're happy with it. The way I tighten them up is I watch the rubber, and if it looks like it's kind of crushing the rubber, I'm probably there. And you can kind of see it kind of starts to crush the rubber. That is probably all you have to do. But what's happening here is this. The rubber is finding its home. It's moving around the bar because the clamp is pushing it around the bar. It takes a few hours, sometimes just no more than a couple of rides, and the rubber will have found its home. It's at that point you should tighten up those screws again. You probably don't need to, but I would recommend that you go and do a retighten on the screws. You're just going to come in, tighten these maybe a few more turns, and you're going to realize, or you're going to understand that, oh, I don't need it any tighter now. Because look at the buggy. Now we're shaking the whole buggy. And this thing is really not moving, other than maybe a little bit of flex in the rubber. You can tighten it down so this doesn't move, so you're literally rocking the buggy like you're pulling on a bar. Okay, so now to release it, let's just say you go for a ride, you're gonna go, well, he told me to release it. The rubber develops some memory. The brand new rubber grabs that bar. It doesn't want to let go of the bar. It wants to hang on to that bar. By you releasing it, you break that memory, and you get a little dust in there. And dust in there is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. Then the rubber doesn't want to hang on to the bar. So the first few times it's really going to want to hang on to the bar. After that, it's going to be a beautiful release. Show your friends how it works. You're basically going to come in, you're going to do your pull. It comes off that easy, and you have the fire extinguisher in your hand. It is real easy. To put it back on, remember, all the work's done. Now to put it back on, I only have to undo these 2 screws. And this is basically what I do. I undo them until they're within about 1/8 inch of coming completely out of their holder. And that allows me to put this back on the bar easily. And if you have an electric screwdriver, by all means, use it. Much faster. Loosen it all the way up, that's all you have to do. Then you're going to come back to where it was, and you can actually see where you had it because it's going to be nice and dusty. You're going to lay it on there vertically so it's hanging onto itself so you don't have to fight this thing. And then you're just basically going to snap these guys back on. And then you're going to come back in and tighten your screws again. Remember, hold the latch down because you've got it loose enough to where it doesn't even want to hold on. And then tighten her down. And as you tighten down, push on your latch because it's going to want to seat itself. And basically the tighter you get it, the better that latch interfaces with itself. And see, if you had a power screwdriver, we'd already be done. And then I like to keep going till I go, oh, I know that's snug. It feels snug to me. Push on them. You can tell it's snug. There you go. And that's how easy it is to install after you have done the initial setup. Just make sure that your latches hook up properly with each other because the latches are keyed. If you've got this too close to these, you got them tipped this way, the keys won't line up. And that's why you might be having a problem getting it to latch. That's why if you line up your noses with a straight edge and then visually stand back and then look at them and go, oh, the one nose is tipped this way and the other one's tipped that way, just tap them over with a hammer and they'll be beautifully vertical. That means it lines everything up and you're never going to have any issues with anything after the initial install. You're going to, well, you saw how long it took me to do it. I've done several of them. So don't be afraid if it takes you 15, 20 minutes to do an install. It's the last time you'll put 15 or 20 minutes into this. From here on out, it's just seconds. You can see how fast it comes off. Nothing comes off faster than this thing. It just comes off in a hurry. This is the fastest release system on the market. We don't call it a quick release system. We call it an easy off system. We just don't want to be, those other guys aren't in competition with us because we're too quick. So anyway, this is Stan, TKO Clamps. We're out.